Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. And who'd have thought it? I'm still finding ways to make videos about the quintessential quintuplets in 2023. Of course, the very first video of the year that I made was covering the quintuplets movie. But we still have even more quintuplets content to cover. As a couple of weeks ago, the two Quintessential Quintuplets special episodes were released, which basically just adapted parts of the manga that weren't adapted in the first two seasons or the movie. So basically what Horimiya Pieces is, but instead of another full season, it's just 2 episodes. So let's get straight into it. The first episode begins pretty much at summer vacation. Yeah, the first episode begins at the very start of summer vacation. And the 5 quintuplets have been evicted from the small apartment they were living in for the second half of season 2, which of course got mentioned in the movie, as their contract had been cancelled, so they ended up having to move back into the house they were living in at the very beginning of the show. But Nino is very excited that she's going to get to spend so much time with Futaro at the bakery they both work at. But that's not going to happen because there's been a spanner thrown into the works, as Futaro and Nino's boss, the owner of the cake shop, calls them to tell them that the shop will be closed for the foreseeable future. And while he's doing that, he's laying down in a hospital bed with a bandage around his left leg. What the hell did he do? No idea, because the show doesn't actually tell you what he did. But what could he possibly have done? So that upsets Nino a little bit, because she doesn't get to spend loads of time at work with Futaro. And she also ends up running into the quintuplets' dad in the hospital. Now, obviously, when I mean that, I don't mean their actual biological father that was in the movie. I mean Mr. Nakano, the guy who'd been being their father for the whole show. Him. Then, while the quintuplets are moving back into their old house that they were living in at the start of the show, Futaro decides to take Raya to the beach. And guess who shows up as well? No, it's not the quintuplets. Instead, it's Maida and Takeda, the 2 guys that Futaro was paired with, the 2 guys that Futaro joined the group of in the Kyoto trip. But what's really strange is Takeda is wearing Speedos and nothing else. Very strange behaviour from him. While the quintuplets are all missing Futaro as they're moving back into their old house, Futaro is actually having quite a bit of fun at the beach. Something that no one really expected him to have, since, as Yotsuba explained in the very first episode of the show, he looks like the gloomy loner. But the girls actually stumble back across some old photos. And Futaro actually gives them a present. He did this because he missed their birthday, which they made a joke about near the end of the season 2 of the show. Futaro, of course, can't give them much since he's not getting paid for the tutoring anymore. Instead, he shows the girls a photo album that he made from the Kyoto trip. And it shows photos of the girls sleeping, which Futaro took literally one of the very last things that happened in season 2 of the show. And other photos that Maida took, because remember, Futaro asked Maida to sneak around and take photos of the girls. And it was only revealed that it was actually him right at the end of season 2. And that's pretty much the gist of what happens in episode 1. But episode 2 is by far the best episode out of these two. I loved episode 2, it was so good. So the second episode has Futaro invite the girls to the pool. And remember, they hadn't seen each other in a little while. So of course they were all very excited. Itsuki, of course, is fully aware that every quintuplet is in love with Futaro apart from herself, so she's got to try and keep Futaro away from the girls because she can't handle all of them at once. Before they head out to the pool, the day before they open up a old photo album, different from the one that Futaro showed them, and they reminisce about a time from about 1 year prior, where Nino still had long hair. That's how you know it was a little while ago. Where Futaro and the quintuplets were babysitting this little girl called Kiku, and she is the daughter of the guy that is Ichika's agent for her acting job. You know, the guy with the mustache. Yeah, this little girl is his daughter. And she wants to play house. Or in a more simple term, roleplay. She roleplays at having Futaro as her father, and she says for Ichika and Miku to be employees that both have a crush on Futaro, which is funny because they actually do. And the both of them are trying to play the role of her mother. But she says she doesn't need one. Yotsuba joins in. And asks, can she play? And Kiku says Yotsuba can be the dog. And then Yotsuba actually starts woofing like a dog. It was hilarious. And Itsuki and Nino end up coming in, and Kiku says those two can play the roles of the grandmas, which pisses Nino off a little bit, because she's essentially calling the two of them old. I mean, Nino is the second oldest quintuplet, but even still. Then they look at Futaro, and he's just playing around with Kiku. And all the quintuplets say this is the side of him that they like. The kind and caring side of him that he doesn't show off very much. But when he does, they of course love it. Then we even see the drawing that Kiku did of the quintuplets herself and Futaro, and she even drew Yotsuba as a dog, which was such an amazingly good detail. She could have just drawn Yotsuba normally, but no, she actually drew Yotsuba as a dog, which is hilarious. Then they all get to the pool, and if you remember from the intro of the movie, that showed a little bit of what they got up to at the pool, if you remember. This is just basically that, but much longer, and shows what they were all doing. They happen to have this big water slide they end up going down, and it's only 2 people per little rubber raft that they can go down in. So they all do rock, paper, scissors to see who will go with who. Nino goes with Yotsuba, Ichika goes with Miku, which means Itsuki has to go with Futaro. But of course we already knew that because the intro of the movie literally showed us that. Itsuki asks Futaro to hold her hand because she's scared, and they end up staying out there until night time. Then when they're all walking home, Futaro is very, very sunburnt, apart from a little spot on his hand, which is where he'd been holding hands with Itsuki. And Itsuki says that she's innocent and she didn't do anything, even though no one was suspecting that she had done anything, so she's making it worse for herself. But as they're all walking home, Yotsuba and Itsuki hang back a little bit. And Itsuki asks Yotsuba, is she ever actually gonna go and pursue Futaro like the other 3 of them are? Because, of course, the only person that knew that Yotsuba loved Futaro prior to her confessing was Itsuki. She was the only one that already knew. And a good portion of this episode has Yotsuba reminiscing about things that happened in the past. We reminisce about the very first episode of the show, when the girls were all sitting in the canteen and then Yotsuba picked up Futaro's exam sheet that he dropped, and then she gave it back to him. But what it does is it shows us what Yotsuba was actually thinking at the time. That she looked at the exam sheet and recognised his name and saw that it was him, even though he looked completely different to the last time she saw him. But she didn't want to say anything. Or the time in the first season where she told him that she likes him and then said she was just kidding. But of course, Yotsuba is terrible at lying, so she wasn't kidding, was she? And it shows many more scenes of Yotsuba on that swing set in the park that she said she goes to whenever she's feeling down, showing us that she actually went there quite a lot. Way more than the show originally showed us. And the animation for these 2 episodes was done by a different studio to the one that did the season 2 in the movie. That took a little bit of getting used to at first, but then it felt natural again. Across from the first season to these specials, we've had 3 different animation studios tackle the quintuplets. And Yotsuba is... We get to see just how much Yotsuba was hurting emotionally from how much she was restraining herself and holding herself back from telling Futaro how she really felt, so the other 3 girls could have a chance at having him instead. And she talks about the fact that she's actually always loved Futaro from the very moment they met when they were kids, all the way up to now. Which, in my opinion, this just adds to the credit and validation that Yotsuba was actually the best choice for Futaro. Again, I wanted Miku to be the winner. I wanted Futaro to choose her, but he didn't. He chose Yotsuba. And the second special really gives a good argument to why Yotsuba was actually the best choice for Futaro all along. So if you were going to watch the whole series all over again, to watch it in chronological order, you'd watch the first season, then the second season, then the 2 specials, then the movie. And the movie ends with not the movie, the second episode ends with Ichika opening up her locker to find an invitation for the school's festival, which of course a large portion of the movie which is what takes place in the largest portion of the movie. And that concludes the 2 special episodes of the Quintessential Quintuplets. The first one was good, the second one was great. Didn't think I'd get to see even more Quintuplets content this year, especially considering the movie was like, that was after the movie, meaning that's it, nothing else happens after that. But here we are, we got some more Quintuplets episodes. Although that probably now is the end of the Quintuplets in terms of content being released for the series. I can't see anything else getting released after this. So, unless you guys can think of any Quintuplets video ideas, that's pretty much it for the Quintessential Quintuplets on the channel. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you do, and until next time, catch you later.